You're watching TelecomTV's exclusive video coverage of the SDN and OpenFlow World Congress event from Dusseldorf. It's time now for our panel discussion on SDN and security. And joining me, I have three industry experts to help address this very important issue. From my left, we have Filippo Galimberti, who is Senior Marketing Manager, SP Global with Cisco. Next to Filippo is Gadi Solomon. Gadi is Head of Product Management at HP ConteXtream. And next to Gadi on the end is Benny Rochwerger, who is Senior Architect, CTO Office at Radware.
Yes.
Gentlemen, thank you all for participating. The first question I'd like to ask, maybe Filippo, I'll start with you, and that is SDN, does it create a larger, bigger security risk than our legacy networks, or is it just a different type of risk?
Well, thanks for the question. I think it's the real point of the overall discussion about SDN and security. Well, I tend to disagree that SDN is creating a threat because, it's a different way to deliver services. And as any time you create a new architecture, you evolve your current architecture to something else, you need to have an holistic view of the full architecture. So SDN, if not considered in the proper way, not secured, not put in the processes and the policy in the right way, that could cause security breaches. But on the other way around, if it's managed like any other, architecture and technology, can even bring new opportunities, and that's exactly where I think it's going to, giving us new opportunity for better security and better visibility on the network.
Gadi?
So to expand on that, I agree 100% that SDN in itself is not a greater security threat. The fact that it's a new technology, it hasn't had the time to have every corner of security addressed in it yet, is certainly a threat. The fact that not all the innovators who started working with SDN thought of security in the first place before they wrote their first line of code or made their first design, that could be a security threat. But when you build SDN solutions from the ground up, and you take into account security threat, you have the security experts sitting beside the engineers and the architects, those things could be mitigated, definitely.
Benny, what do you think?
I actually think that security is the biggest opportunity for SDN. And yes, SDN introduces some new components into your network, leverage existing components, and these new components may be considered a new threat, but if you can protect them as you protect all your other components in your network, and it does give you an opportunity to have this global view and make security decisions based not on a single point, but on your entire network. So it's actually an opportunity and not a threat. We need to properly protect the systems, but it's definitely an opportunity.
So it's an opportunity because we're building it and we're addressing security from the first principle.
Well, really the opportunity is the immense amount of control that you have with SDN. You're controlling every single flow in a programmatic way. You have the full flexibility of directing every packet of every flow in where you want it. So when you have the application that, let's say, detects the threat, it doesn't have to wait or create a management command or something like that. It can instantly program the switch to redirect flows, for example, to a secure area. So.
Yeah, and if I can extend a little bit the picture that we are discussing, I would not separate completely SDN and NFV, because the two things should be considered in the same picture. We are all in agreement, I think, that SDN is an opportunity. So as soon as, for example, we identify a threat, DDoS or whatever, the flexibility of this new infrastructure will allow us to instantiate it, to spin up a new virtual machine, a new virtual function to deal exactly with the threat. So match this flow, clean it up, redirect where it's needed until it's needed in the location where it is needed. So the two things together are giving us a huge opportunity, and this is the direction that we are taking in Cisco. This holistic, well, I repeat holistic because I think it's important, holistic view of the overall architecture.
You're both nodding there, aren't you?
The fact that we now have this global view of the system, so it's not a single point detection that we move all the traffic to another place to clean it up. Now we're able to collect information from different points in the network and on demand bring up security mechanisms to protect when we identify there's a threat, and we can actually bring these security mechanisms in the right place and have them even collaborate among themselves. So it's all due to this centralized view of the whole network that we can now deploy security where it's needed at most.
And when you say deploy security, what type of security are you referring to?
Well, in our case, we're talking about DDoS protection. We actually have some collaboration going on with Cisco, where we have deployed different size of mitigation devices, and we have this offline detection that is collecting through different probes with many different protocols. It's not about the low-level flow programming protocol, it's more about the global view. So we're collecting information, and we, depending on the type of attacks that we're seeing, we're able to either redirect the traffic to these big mitigation devices, these scrubbing centers, or alternatively, bring up on demand a very dedicated mitigation device right in front of the customer that is being attacked, and actually have these two collaborate. So it's about the mix of all the things.
Gadi, any other features or functions that need to be introduced?
We need to make sure, okay, we're looking at the data plane, but still we need to also make sure that our controller and also its northbound interfaces, not just its southbound interfaces, are completely secure and protected, because while you might be protecting against DDoS attack against the end users or the systems that are connected to the network, the controller itself could be a target. So you need to make sure that when you're building that controller, you're implementing and designing in all the protection mechanisms, the secure protocols, of course, and authentication, authorization, but also the queuing mechanisms and rate limiting of commands on the various APIs. So that needs to be taken care of also on the threat side.
Yeah. I can't agree more. I think we can, extending and articulating better the security concept. I think we should consider securing the infrastructure and the architecture, which is one end. It's very important, it's what you touched. So we need to make sure that all the elements have been hardened and secured. When I say all elements, I start from the infrastructure itself up to the application, but going to virtual machine, APIs, protocols. It's all things to get to be considered, because as we all agree, I'm sure that security is strong as the weaker element in the chain. Exactly. So we cannot avoid to consider this part. So as soon as, and we are doing that, we have this approach to the infrastructure, then we can move to the other flip of the security coin, which is the opportunity. So how to mitigate the DDoS in just an example, in the proper way, how to enhance the existing infrastructure, because we don't have to forget that we are not in an ideal SDN world where everything is virtualized or programmable, but we have to need to coexist, and we have to enhance the existing world. So secure the first foundation element, and we can discuss a long time on that, and then move to make our world better in terms of security. And that's the real opportunity we have here.
And another aspect of this is to monetize security. So selling security to your end users, right? Being able to selectively per end user, send traffic to secure, through malware detection, through DDoS protection, all that, and charge for it, and not give it to everybody for free. So,
have we got any examples yet? What are we seeing so far with SDN in terms of security? Are we seeing some real-world examples of where issues may arise?
Well, I think the easiest, I'm still on monetizing you.
Yeah.
You took a very good point. So in terms of monetization, is really managed service, for example, that are delivered out from the cloud and security come there, so you can really secure the flow even if it's getting to the end user side or entering the data center. That's definitely something that is very valuable. But also, I see a lot of approaches on the controllers when the controller is playing this, overall baselining of the network, so that you can really have a clear understanding of how the flows are happening in the network. You get better visibility, and so you can really identify what is the expected behavior of your network. And having a view on expected behavior and having a clear action associated to any deviation really brings security to a foundation where you can really have your service flowing at the highest quality you want.
The cynic, though, might say, why should I be sold extra security services? This is new architecture. This should be all built in. I don't want to pay more for security. You must be making SDN insecure.
The security services that I was talking about were security services that exist with or without SDN. They're selling them the ability to protect themselves from threats that are not related to the type of infrastructure that's in the network. You have to make the SDN layer secure. That's a given, and you're right. So.
I don't think it's about monetizing the security of the SDN layer. No. Yes, that's a given. You have to build it secure. It's about adding security, leveraging the secure SDN. Yeah. So nobody's going to be asking, okay, we're creating an SDN and we're charging you for making it secure.
So adding security, leveraging the existing SDN layer, security of the SDN layer. How does that work?
So I think there are two ways, right? As I say, I would like to keep this conjunction between SDN and NFV because the separation is something somehow artificial. So we learned on the field that is artificial. So on one hand, you can give security features, like make it very simple, like DDoS, like firewall. Activate and spawn up much easily, so much more on the spot and where the customer really needs. That's one point. And the other end is giving visibility of the network behavior, because there's how can I say, there's no security if you don't have awareness that security is there, because you get into security hard time. You get security visibility just when you have hard time. Well, you have to show your customer, your end user, or in your organization that everything is going well, even when you block threats. And that's exactly where SDN and visibility and programmability can play a huge role.
And so, to take that a little bit further, when you have controllers that are federated, distributed, and cover a wide area, a significant part of the operator's network, the controllers and the switches, they send KPIs about all these things. And from those KPIs, you can learn globally about threats live, like distributed threats, and then take action, like sending them off to some black hole somewhere for mitigation. So that global view, not centralized controllers, but distributed, federated controllers that cover more of your network will give you the opportunity to do that. So.
You say we can't separate NFV, we shouldn't separate NFV from SDN as such. Are there specific elements of NFV security relating to NFV that we all need to be aware of?
I think there are, again, it's a twofold word in my opinion. First, the easiest one to explain is the opportunity that is generated by NFV. So flexibility, you have more awareness, better visibility on the network, so you can react with NFV on what you need. On the other end, on the securing infrastructure, you need to make sure that your infrastructure is secure from the bottom up to the end. You need to make sure that the hardware on which your controller or the NFV is running is your hardware. You cannot afford that somebody spoofing, right, or something like that. But then if you move to virtualization in this concept of, securing the fence around the architecture, you have even to make sure that nobody will change the software around your virtual machine. Here we go on NFV. You have to make sure that if you spin up a virtual machine, because of SDN visibility, this virtual machine is exactly the one that you mean to spin up. It's not a fake or somebody had changed it. So signature, these kind of things are very important. So that closes the loop on the two things. So spinning up, but also control what you spin up.
And of course, the interfaces and the APIs between the VNFs and the infrastructure, and between VNFs themselves, they need to be really carefully secured, because that's,
If I may add something that I think is important, I forgot one point. It's also important how this software is developed. So we pull together in our development process a methodology that makes sure that software we deploy and we develop and is going to quality lines, so that secures it from the birth, right? This is software, so we need to make sure that the best practices are in place since the beginning. It's exactly what we are doing, really, to build the whole stack securely.
And Benny, if we're mixing and matching...
I totally agree that SDN and NFB are complementary and they go together. NFB gives us the automation capabilities, the fact that and again, I'm not talking about the security in the infrastructure, but about providing security services. The ability now to on-demand create a security device, virtual device, is a huge advantage. SDN gives us the network programmability and the global view, and when you merge those two together, you really can build better security systems. You can provide things that were previously not possible. Security is the SDN NFB killer application.
And how important is it to share findings, to share methodology amongst the industry?
So that's what open source is all about, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
So it's about leveraging, because nobody has the resources anymore to do everything. And to add your special sauce, for a while, and then share it. So
we talked about threats coming into network, but what about... SDN is very complex, it's very new. There must be scope for human error in this. What about the human aspect of...
I think you have an oxymoron. It's complex or it's new? I think it's complex because it's new. And that's where we find out ourselves in any new technology. So I'm not sure I can say that SDN is intrinsically more complicated, more complex compared to other, technological transition that we had in the past. Definitely, it's not just development or design that should be addressed, but also, the process and procedures, the operation in the service provider or in the enterprise that has to be, updated or adapted to the new thing. And that's when all this flow will happen. I'm sure that we'll sit again on this floor and won't say it's more complicated or than the other technologies.
And I would say that SDN is less prone to human error because it's all about automation. Okay, it's instead of end users going into every switch and router in the network and using a CLI or a GUI to program them, you have automated machines programming them. The error would be in the programmer who created those controllers or the logic behind those controllers. And same thing with NFV. You have the Vim layer. You have the orchestration layer. Orchestration, somebody's trying to define what is orchestration. It's automation. So it's all about setting policies, and a wish list or intent, and then letting the machines, and if they're, don't have too many bugs, they'll do that and remove the human error. So that's the way I see it.
I totally agree that the SDN introduces a level of automation that reduces human error, because most of the problems that we have seen when you talk about human error related to network is usually configuration problems.
Yeah.
And those eventually will go away with SDN. Yes, we still have programmer errors, but those are simpler to fix.
Yeah.
Not simpler to fix, but you fix them once.
So are we all happy that the industry is addressing security in the right way, the right time, and is moving in the right direction? Or are there things that we still need to do?
Of course not. We got a lot of work to do to make sure that everything we said actually happens. I mean, I'm sure different departments in different places have very good things, and there's always the weak link, you know, like the U.S. government, you know, whatever, personnel databases. So.
Yeah, I think we are heading in the right direction. So we have a bunch of opportunity in front of us. So it's up to us go and grab the low-hanging fruit, which is there. And it's there for us as a vendor because we can create better functionalities in a different way, so more adapted to the way the networks are built today, but also for our customer and the end user, because they can get a better networking, higher quality, and more secure approach to those. So it's a win-win situation. I'm strongly convinced about that.
We're definitely happy. We see this as a great opportunity and lots of new interesting challenges to solve. The industry may not be moving fast enough, but it is going in the right direction. And we believe this is something good, both for us vendors and for the end users that will get better services.
Gentlemen, thank you very much for participating. That's all we have time for, though, for this panel discussion. Don't forget, you can look at all of TelecomTV's content of the SDN and OpenFlow World Congress event 2015 on our website. That's all the panel discussions and all of the interviews. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.